Hello, my name is Matt, and welcome to the Platform Zone. The game that we're going to be talking about today, or I suppose a first impression slash look back, is a game series called Metroid Prime. Since the fourth installment, Metroid Prime Beyond, is going to be coming out later this year, I thought, why not go back to the old classic, the first game in the Metroid Prime series. This first game I actually have a bit of a history with that I'll delve into soon. First, let's catch up on what exactly is Metroid Prime for introductions. Metroid Prime is something some might call a first-person shooter game from Nintendo. Though I guess I should say it was published by Nintendo and developed by a studio called Retro Games Studio. It was released back in 2002, and it's interesting because Nintendo doesn't want Metroid Prime to be called or considered a first-person shooter, and since they are a little bit more family-oriented game company, they considered it more of an action-adventure, which is actually not too bad of a description of Metroid Prime. It's a little bit more of space-centered, has more lasers than quote-unquote guns, and it has a little bit more than just shooting. There's puzzles, platforming, things like that, and I'll get a little bit more into it. You are a space bounty hunter named Samus, and you're basically a space bounty hunter that fights space pirates. Another thing to add is that Metroid Prime, despite being the first in the Prime series, is not the first Metroid game, so this is a continuation of previous story. Just know that you are a space mercenary fighting space alien pirates. And you get a distress signal in the beginning of the game. You go to there to check it out, and the story just kind of unfolds from there. So I actually had this game as a kid, the original first Metroid game, with a little bit of a bonus demo of the second. Interesting thing is, despite having this game for a good chunk of my childhood, despite multiple times opening it on my GameCube, I had a little bit of an issue with this game. Younger me, little Matt, had a little bit of a issue with how well Metroid Prime set its atmosphere. The atmosphere of Metroid Prime is dark, ominous, eerie, especially the first part of the game, since you are coming across what seems like an abandoned or destroyed spacecraft, and just it was so scary to younger Matt and eerie, so much so in fact that younger Matt barely got past the first, not even like stage, but like first area within the first level of the game. Like the little spaceport area, he did not get past because it was just so spooky, and he just felt that there was going to be more, even scarier stuff once he moved forward. So no matter how much he opened the game, he would just explore all the first area had to offer. Honestly, he barely got past the title screen because of how ominous it is. And that was the case for years. Maybe there was like a moment where little Matt stepped past that area and went into one other area, but then he got scared again. So I don't know, like, if I would count that as playing completely, because I barely moved forward in the game. So now that I'm older, just gonna see how how much more of a capacity I have for this stuff and do what little Matt couldn't. So let's see how well I do this time. So, like I said before, Nintendo doesn't want Metroid Prime to be considered an FPS or first-person shooter, or have the word shooter in there. It's more first-person action adventure. And I say that it's pretty accurate description because while yes, there is lasers and you have a laser cannon on your arm, and you do kind of shoot a little bit. The main there's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot of exploring. There's puzzles, platforming, where you jump platform to platform, figure out things back. There's a lot of backtracking, like looking around. Honestly, half the game is just not, well, sometimes you fall. Part of the puzzles do include firing your laser, but I would say half the game is not blasting. So, not really that much of a quote unquote shooter. And I, as a person who likes platform games, and exploring a map, I did find this nice. There's still a little bit of ominous atmosphere, especially leading up to meeting the monsters, or I guess the aliens, more so. Monsters/aliens. These entrances of these monsters, I will admit, sometimes do get me in terms of surprising me a bit. The monster aliens tend to be a bit, they're exaggerated enough to be like a little bit imposing. And yes, there was I'll show a clip. There was a time when one of the monster aliens did surprise me or scared me so bad that I freaked out. I had to pause the game to take a breath. It was not great. Yeah, and I think part of why it got me so bad is, like I said, the atmosphere, the music, and the music is very sci-fi, techno like keyboard sounds, and a little bit unsettling like sound effects, and sometimes just silences, and that just kind of slowly winds you up and builds you up to before the aliens pop out. You get you know. I will admit that, I will concede that that the atmosphere still kind of gets me at times. Yeah. What surprised me a little bit more is how much lower background stuff is just around, and logs. There's like this feature in the game where you scan, and depending on what you scan can be helpful for figuring out puzzles, or even just figuring out the story of what's going on in a certain area, like space logs, the stereotypical stuff, or even just entries in experiments, because the space pirates you're fighting do have these experiments on other aliens and everything. Yeah, it's surprisingly enthralling to come across, to see, to read. It's a nice surprise. It's a pleasant surprise. It helps distract me. It helps distract me from how ominous this game is. The boss fights and monsters, I will admit they are as frantic as I was in the beginning. They're fun. This game has a good, since this is Nintendo is trying to advertise this as a game. Well, yes, a little bit older kids can play. Kids and teens can still play this, and I I do notice it does a good job of just slowly building the difficulty. It doesn't overwhelm you. You start off shooting space pirates that are very injured, so they're not on their top form. Slowly, as you get used to the controls and the weapons, it does a good job of just slowly ramping up the difficulty. Good game design, good time. It honestly, after beating a few of those aliens, and after the alien scare, I started to get more and more comfortable, less wary of this game, and I am having a good time despite still having a little bit of reluctance. And I like the exploring and everything. It's a good game, and I can see why this has such a cult following. I'm always a fan of diverse games because it doesn't feel like just one type of game, but still feels unique enough to be its own thing. So it's nice. So it is nice to come back to. Oh boy. And it's nice to follow up on something that I didn't do in my childhood. I didn't mention this, but Samus, the space bounty hunter that you're playing as, I don't know if I mentioned this, but she's a woman in that armor. They're like, it's not a dude, which was a surprise in the very first Metroid game for a lot of, guys that were playing this game, or I guess the original Metroid game, which is not this. This is Metroid Prime. Weird distinction, I know, but yeah. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling at this point because this one was kind of straightforward. Not too much to add. This is a good game. It was fun, as well as a little bit too thrilling to come back to this game. Despite that, I still enjoy it. It is the first game I am playing is remastered version on the Switch. So go play it. Alright. With that, I guess I will finish and wrap up this video. This has been Matt. You're still at the Platform Zone. Go ahead, like, subscribe, follow, and check out my other videos. Take care.